We are at Solar and Storage and the whole Wolfe Power Club team is here today. We're talking this week to the Minister of Energy to understand government's objectives about where Britain is investing and opening up planning.
If that isn't a statement of intent, then I don't know what is.
We have Anthony Agnew talking about where he's raising funds across the EMIR to invest in the energy sector. We catch up with Keith Gough, the chairman of SunSynk. He's in over 40 countries and a YouTube legend with over 200,000 followers on amazing solar storage solutions. And Ray is putting canopies and car parks to do charge systems. We've got many suppliers here, we've got a lot of our listeners. Why don't you come with me and walk through the stands? We've got the whole world community here. Today I've met people from China, Japan, the whole of EMIR. We've then also had all of the European countries talking to us. It's been absolutely fantastic. We've had great conversations with the likes of ICO from China that are looking to bring their product to market. As we go through, we're looking at that massive opportunity for Britain in solar and storage. We've heard the Minister today think that it really is one of the big opportunities in the country that we can do now. I think the challenge, as we heard from National Grid about 4 weeks ago, was that these grid connections have got more demand and more projects than Britain will ever need. So focusing on where we go on those projects is hugely important. What we've then seen at the show today is that people exchanging ideas on new technologies. So there are solar panels you can walk on here. We've also seen an amazing changes in battery costs and battery evaluations, with people talking about cost points that are lower than have ever been seen before. There's talk obviously about Trump and about trade, but actually the whole thing I think here is very positive. And what we see is probably one of the best alignments of China and EMIR in terms of bringing together their powers of their manufacturing and the opportunities in British industry and the opportunities in European industry. As we go round then the show, just look at the vastness of opportunities here. As we look at all the areas that the stands are doing, as I say, so many people as we walk through, grid walk style like the Formula One. I think what we need to ask ourselves is Britain needs to be at the forefront of this sector. And I think one of the most brilliant things to see was that Coventry University had so many students here today. My question is, why aren't more universities here? And that's what we've got to try and do. This week's episode is about politics. It is about the investors and it's about what technology is out there. Enjoy.
And just yesterday we saw people across the country facing increased bills once again, almost entirely driven by our continued dependence on volatile gas prices. And so if ever there was a reminder for us as a government, but for all of us here collectively about how important this mission is, yesterday was an important one. Because as well as delivering on climate leadership and on energy security, it is also about how we bring down bills and remove that volatility that we're all still paying the price for. And in our Clean Power Action Plan, we were hugely ambitious on the role that solar will play, needing it to grow from 18 gigawatts to more than 45 gigawatts in 5 years, more than doubling. And on storage, we've been clear that it has to quadruple in time too, split between long duration energy storage and batteries. Now, depending on your outlook, and I'm hoping I'm in the right audience to say this, you're either hugely excited by that ambition or slightly terrified by the scale of what we have to do. But the purpose of the Clean Power Plan was to say government is at its best when it is ambitious, when it tackles the hard stuff, when it sets targets that are difficult to achieve, but that are deliverable. Firstly, and most fundamentally, we are putting to one side the idea that government should be in the business of dither and delay, and instead, as the Prime Minister has repeatedly said, in the business of building stuff again, of getting on with doing what we all know is necessary, but for too long we've buried our head in the sand on. And as evidence of that, in the 8 months since we've been in government, the Energy Secretary has approved 6 nationally significant solar projects, around 3 gigawatts enough to power more than 800,000 homes. And if that isn't a statement of intent, then I don't know what is. But it is just the start. And secondly, while a lot of that planning is around ground-mounted solar, we also think that there is still huge ambition for our rooftop revolution. Thanks to the work of many of the organisations here, we now have solar panels on almost 1.5 million homes across the UK, and 250,000 larger rooftop installations on commercial and industrial buildings. But we know that those numbers need to increase even faster. And the work on the future home standards is all around ensuring that our presumption is that solar should play a really important role in the construction of new homes across this country. And that the standards we expect for home building, but also for new commercial rooftops across the country, are that solar can play a really critical part. And so soon we will publish a call for evidence on solar canopies in car parks, and I encourage all of you to share your views on that. Thirdly, and it's been referenced already, we set up Great British Energy, the first publicly owned energy company to be set up in this country in 75 years. A commitment to giving the British public a stake in our energy future, but also to drive investment forward in the technologies that we know are going to be critical on this journey. And I was delighted that our very first announcement on investments from Great British Energy was indeed on solar projects. £200 million of investment in new rooftop solar at hundreds of schools and hospitals across the country, helping them to save tens of thousands of pounds on their energy bills. But you'll also have noticed in our Clean Power Action Plan our commitment to storage. The plan is clear that batteries will play a critical role in balancing the grid at lower cost and maximising our output from everything else we're doing around solar and wind. With around 25 gigawatts of grid-scale batteries required by 2030, we're having to increase significantly from the 5.2 gigawatts that are currently connected to the grid. And really excitingly, we are moving forward with investment in long-duration energy storage. It's been 40 years since this country built any long-duration energy storage. We want to reverse that, and we've announced the first funding scheme in 4 decades to deliver long-duration energy storage. And part of that will be pumped hydro, which plays a really critical role in our energy mix, but also, as some estimates have said, creating tens of thousands of jobs. But also, we've been technology agnostic to allow for the development of new and innovative approaches to long-duration energy storage, and we look forward to that scheme opening soon. The only way that we can achieve this mission as a government is by working together. And we've set out how, across government, all departments are going to break down the barriers, the silos that previously held back us achieving difficult things in government. Chaired by the Prime Minister himself, the mission boards are all about driving forward government's action. But we're not going to build this infrastructure directly. We're not going to deliver the innovation in the technology that's coming in the years ahead. That's for all of you. And we want to set in place the ambition, the regulation, the process, the pace. But we need all of you to be part of this national mission as well, working collectively right across the country to deliver something truly historic.
And it's great to see you after all these years. What a lot of the Wolfe Power Club listeners might not know is we went to university together. So what is one of the brightest brains, one of the great alumni of Newcastle University doing now?
I don't know, it's a good question. What are you doing now?
Oh, fantastic.
Too easy. What am I doing separately? So I wear 2 hats. I am a broker for clients. So I help raise money for their platforms in renewable energy across the space, across Europe mostly, but also abroad further, US and otherwise. But working across technologies, anaerobic digestion, gas to grid, battery storage, on-site and behind, sort of standalone, working in solar on large-scale PPAs, selling and raising money for that. A few of those funders are here today as well. I work in geothermal, raise money for the largest geothermal platform in Holland. which is great. They're doing really well.
We've just come out of a meeting with the Energy Minister. He was talking about one of their key pledges is on planning. You've said you've been there and done it.
Yeah.
A, did you come out of that talk with huge optimism? And B, what do you think the government needs to do on planning, having been there and done it on solar and storage type projects?
So the issue with the planning in the UK is for onshore wind. Onshore wind is one of the lowest cost, if it's placed in the right place, one of the lowest cost forms of renewable energy you can get. Building out in the oceans, you can build very big turbines, which gets cost effective, but you've got a lot of infrastructure cost, a lot of complexity in terms of delivering it, which increases the cost of delivery and therefore reduces the performance of the energy in terms of cost and levelized cost of energy. Onshore wind, NIMBYism's kicked in a large way, and one person nearby can object to a wind turbine, which means it won't go through planning. What they're trying to do potentially is claw that back where it's been for the last 10 years, essentially a memorandum where you cannot build more wind, and take away the ability for local complaints in the same way and bring it back into high levels of government to still run through a proper planning process, but to avoid some of that local complaint. And if they can do that, that could unlock quite a lot of wind in the UK.
And you've just heard, 15 minutes from the Minister. Huge optimism, what he said? Or is there some areas where you feel that, because I was a bit concerned at the end of the speech, it was kind of like, it's up to you, which is great in one way, but in the other way, they're trying to be GB Energy. So I was just wondering if it's huge optimism or there's some areas that you think where government need to do a bit more.
I think that's a very good question, which is also a great answer to a question. There is a lot of optimism in the market in general. I think the UK is, after the doldrums from 2016 to 2019, the market pretty much stopped. And we've seen a huge uptick now in delivery. Rooftop solar, battery deployment, large-scale solar, offshore wind, all having their moments in the sun. But I think to increase that deployment and go beyond that, a lot of the issues are down to grid reform and being able to plug the projects in. There just isn't the ability to connect projects at the moment on a large scale. And that's where the reforms really need to come in. You can have whatever target you like, but if you can't connect a project until 2030 or 2035, which is where we are in the market, you can't get it done. If I put in a grid connection now, I can't actually put a grid connection now until June this year, and even then, the process to deliver it is much, much harder now, which is good in as much as they're trying to design the grid to be more specific to what the UK needs. It's bad in terms of delivering large-scale renewables across the platform being the UK energy network. So we're seeing a constriction in the operation of the grid, because there's potentially far too much battery and solar already in the planning process than we need, which is a phenomenon. But then at the same time, the support for that and the increase for it, it's going to slow people down a lot. And I think that we'll start to see over the next, 9 years, a real reduction in the rollout speed because of those constraints.
So we ask our guests kind of 4 quick-fire questions that across the series.
I haven't prepared for this. I'm looking forward to it.
So, in the next 12 months, what would you like the British government to do, just in the next 12 months?
I think the biggest requirement now is unlocking the national grid and their ability to deliver the changes.
The next quick question, but almost I feel, Ant, we could do a whole episode on this for you, so try and keep it as short as possible. is time and energy wise, where would you be investing in the next 12 months in the energy sector?
I think, as I was saying, rooftop solar is a quick win because you can get very quick deployment in energy, which is great. The one that's really interesting, which is going to take a bit more time to get into, is seeing geothermal grow. I think that's having a much more interesting moment now. Big investors are stepping into it. Foresight, for example, stepped behind 85 Degrees, Michael in Holland.
It's very easy to have a go at industry, very easy to have a go at business, but what would you like the consumer to do in the next 12 months?
If you make the choice to go for slightly greener options, that slightly greener option, if everyone goes a little bit greener, the sway of money that can enter the industry is huge. So I think that's probably the simplest and smallest change that can have a huge effect, is letting your nest egg and advising your pension holders to invest into more sustainable investments could drive a lot of growth and help and sort of prosperity into the market.
So finally, just to finish with our listeners, how can they stay in touch with you? And we're happy to put it in the show notes.
Oh, self-promo, love it. Green Deck, so Green Deck website, you can find us there, or find me on LinkedIn wearing this bright blue jacket. So it's just greendeck.co.uk.
Vote now.
Have a look there. Greendeck.co.uk, or otherwise find me on LinkedIn, Anthony Agnew. It's been a pleasure talking with you all.
We are at Solar and Storage today, and we've got a legend of the world of that is, and that's Keith. Keith, can you tell our listeners across our over 50 countries what your background is and essentially why are you here?
Well, I'm a bit boring. I'm an electrical engineer. I've done process control systems a long time ago. So I'm an industrial electrician, I suppose. I've done this all my life. SunSynk was incorporated in 1998. Wow. So we've been going quite a few years now. And we operate in many countries. So that's me.
And so you've had a quarter of a century. And I understand also you're a bit of a YouTuber as well.
Yeah, no, I got a YouTube channel, SunSynk. So on YouTube we've got a couple of 100,000 followers. I do a lot of training videos and on site and look at windmills, wind turbines and how to wire things up. So I'm not coming from a sales point of view, I come from an engineering point of view and try to explain in simple terms how things work.
And what was your vision for SunSynk when you started it up?
So SunSynk, I've always wanted to do battery storage. Going back maybe 30 years ago, we just had this vision of these green, we called it green machines or big boxes with batteries in. And them days it was all lead acid and we didn't got the technology we've got now. We haven't got bidirectional inverters. So it's been a long journey. And it become an obsession, really become a big upset. And that's what I wanted to do, and that's what we've done very successfully. And we produce basically battery storage systems. But it's a whole thing is trying to get people interested, and many people follow our videos and say, "Oh yeah, I got into this because of following us." I don't know what, I'll probably say, well, thank you everyone for following us. I'm probably boring people to death, but and so we've actually got several 100,000 systems installed in South Africa. We were very fortunate because they had load shedding, power cuts, and stuff, and that was going on, and we were there at the right place, but we got the right product. And our product is still in South Africa. We don't go for the pretty look and bells and ding dong and all that. We just get for a solid product that's going to work, because a lot of the guys are farmers and they want something that works, is reliable, and they don't want something that's going to look pretty, but they want something that's going to do a job and fit for purpose and it's going to last for years.
And in terms of the product, can you just tell our listeners, because we have listeners from oil and gas, from hydrogen, from hydro, what does your product do for the end user?
So basically, we store energy in batteries. So we use bidirectional inverter. So the inverter can charge and discharge. There's no relay. It's basically the inverter becomes a charging unit or it becomes a discharging unit. It's the same unit. It's not separate charger, separate battery, separate different devices. It's just a single unit. And so on the bigger stuff, if you're focusing on oil and gas industry, then some of our colleagues have experience in this, but we go for using low density. Safety is important. Low density. We don't have people going about water cooling. They call liquid cooling, but water cooling. Personally, I was always as an engineer thought water and electricity don't go very well together, and so we've always focused on air cooling, but most important, serviceability. If you have a product, you've got to be able to service it and look after it. It's not a one-off and sell it and as somebody says, I'm from Liverpool, budget Scarpa,
We ask all of our guests sort of 4 quick-fire questions. So the first question is, where would you be investing time or money into the energy sector in the next 12 months?
Where would I be?
Yeah.
Energy storage. It has to be energy storage. Windmills are good, but windmills are difficult to wind turbines got to be huge wind turbines. Yeah. So definitely energy storage, but be very careful, because on the C&I, the commercial industrial sector, there's a lot of people coming into it to make a quick buck, and I wonder about the reliability of some of this stuff. Of course, I will push SunSynk every time because our technology is a little bit different. But yeah, absolutely.
The next quick fire question is, what would you like consumers to do in the next 12 months?
from the consumer point of view, seriously look at battery storage and solar. Nowadays, panels are so ridiculously cheap, and even we haven't got much sun in the sky, you'll still get payback.
Definitely. Next quick question is, in the next 12 months, what would you like the government to do to make just it better?
I would love the government to give incentives for people to buy storage batteries. They need some sort of incentive scheme.
And just finally, for all of our guests, how can they stay in touch with you guys? And if people are looking at this technology thinking they want it, what's the best way to contact?
So there's two ways. If you go on sunsynk.com, there's a QR code right on the front. You can scan the QR code and it will take you to a WhatsApp link, and you can send your information, or go on YouTube or any of the social media sites and just type in SunSynk, SUNSYNK, unique name, and you will find us.
Fantastic. Can I really thank you from the Wolfe Power Club? It's absolutely buzzing at solar and storage today. We've got the whole world here, but we've got Liverpool and Widnes.
And tonight it's Liverpool and Everton game.
Oh, the big derby, Are you blue or red?
Well, there's only one team, red, of course.
On that happy note, we'll end there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Can you just tell our listeners what you do, Ray, and what the company does?
Okay, so SolarTree provides full turnkey solutions for car park canopies integrated with EV charging. Majority of what we do is focused on the retail sector, where we're feeding back the power to provide power for a client's site and provide either public EV charging or workspace EV charging for private and fleet users.
And for our listeners, why a canopy compared to some bays you see where there's nothing at all overhead? What are the benefits and what does it provide the supermarket or the retailer?
Yeah, so a canopy is it's a very visual product. So if you're a retailer and you're covering your car park in canopies, you're providing sort of shelter, shade for the users, protection from the rain, and they can physically see the solar panels on the roof, and they know that you're making an impact towards that net zero journey. They see it with the EV charging, and obviously the perception there is that all the wonderful sunshine is going straight into your electric vehicle. So it's a very visible product. But beyond that as well, on a practical basis, we're finding that there's quite a lot of problems now with rooftops on commercial buildings where they're coming up to that kind of time where they need replacing, or they're not suitable for mounting the solar on the roof. And we're providing a 50-year guaranteed product that will go into the car park. So even if the solar needs updating in 20 years' time, you can take it off and put a whole new load on and get even more power.
What we found is not only is it a nice experience for the customer, but it's significantly reduced our maintenance bill because it just protected them from all sorts of weathers. Because let's be honest, in the UK we get everything, literally all 4 seasons. And I was just wondering if that's the same for electric, because I know there's been substantial challenges to the stuff over the last decade, saying it's not repaired often enough, there's maintenance issues, it's out when I get there. So do you see the canopy actually being a good potential way to mean that they're on more often and there's less downtime?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the canopies themselves, the actual physical structure, we make from hot rolled steel. There's a lot of canopies on the market made from cold rolled steel, which doesn't have the longevity or the robustness compared to hot rolled steel. So if you're looking at car parks whereby there could potentially be an accident with a car going into a canopy, our structure will come off better than the car. Whereas a cold rolled steel structure wouldn't. But from a maintenance point of view, in terms of upkeep, there's very little that needs to be done on the canopies. On the solar side, it makes it so much easier to keep them clean and replace any products. We try and make everything modular, so that if there is a system and worst case, one whole canopy has to be replaced, you're not having to pick apart a complex infrastructure with wiring going everywhere, we can literally just take out one modular canopy and replace it with a new one.
And we'll put in the show notes the company, but how's best people to contact you, especially if you do own a car park or retail site that's looking for a canopy to do exactly what you guys are doing?
Best thing is to go to our website, which is solar-tree.co.uk. You'll find all the contact details on there. Drop an email to us, say hello, and we'll be straight back in touch.
Brilliant, fantastic. Thank you very much for today.
Thanks,
Cheers,
Alex.
bye.
Cheers, bye.
Wow, we've had an incredible 2 days at Solar and Storage. We've spoken to the Minister, we've spoken to stallholders, we've had mega interest in the podcast. What we learned, that solar and storage is booming right now in our sector, and even better than that, you can win this light. So if you comment or follow us on LinkedIn in the next week, you'll be entered into the competition to win this amazing light from SunSynk. Thank you for watching, and to a wonderful Solar and Storage.